I've been, of age, this whole negative gearing thing's been thrown around willy-nilly. What's your take on that? And also the recent capital gains tax potential adjustments. How do you see both those levers playing out? Are they just flirting with them, or is there going to be some action?
No, I actually think, and I wrote this sometime last year. I got a bit of blowback there. I said, in the next May budget, the government's going to be grabbing one distraction. Okay, so you will talk it's just like Venezuela and Greenland and things like that for Trump and the Epson stuff. Here we've got some real issues in terms of margin seats and ethnicity and protests and so forth. So distraction. So we'll talk about things like taxation changes. That's one. Secondly, is that it appeals to the base. We're going to take stuff from the rich people and give it to the poor. We're not really going to do that. So I think there will be changes to the capital gains tax. They'll be small. Um, I They'll talk about negative gearing. I don't think they would do anything with it. I'm of the opinion that we should change our tax system in Australia. I've written about this as well. It's very much like the Henry reforms that were suggested, 2 decades ago. We have an issue with we have to remove stamp duty. We have an issue with land tax appropriately applied is a smart thing. Infrastructure charges should be done on price, not just on a flat fee. And it should be done by area, not by number of dwellings. So you're encouraged, and Victoria happens, you're encouraged to put more dwellings in there, not just less. There's plenty of places in Australia where, the market would like 400 square metre lots, but 2,000 square metre lots are provided because the infrastructure charges at a flat fee, and the developer can't make a return if they build 400 square metre lots, but they can if they build 2,000 square metre lots because of the price point, blah, blah, blah. You could do that. The market wants that because they want to buy land at $200,000, not, in a house and land package at 600, not a house and land package at 1.2 because it's acreage or whatever it is, or free, or whatever the price is. And that we should tweak capital gains tax, grandfather the existing people moving forward. We should change that to capital gains tax to give all the incentives to building and buying something new and hitting those people who want to buy something established. I don't have a problem with that. Its impact and capital raising is very small. I mean, it's billions, but it's nothing compared to the amount we spend on other things. So it's a lot of noise and not much gain. Be far better if they actually said from decree, federal government says to state government, you need to hit these housing targets. And now we're not talking about approvals. We're talking about completions. You need to hit these completions and you need to house this number of people per annum. And you need to communicate that with your capital cities and their major regional planning, blah, blah, blahs. And you need to make that happen. And that can be done just by the planning instruments. We have regional plans that have paper thin, like really, this thin little biro thing, which marks the regional boundary, where I think we should have a regional boundary marked with something thick. So it's porous. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen at it because that farmer could amalgamate with that one and that one, and you guys put X together. And now we've got a thing that could build 5,000 dwellings. Look, how can we make it 7.5? And if we make it 7.5, how can we fund via infrastructure charges to make the school and everything happen now? How many of those people really need to travel to Sydney for work? Can we get them to travel to, halfway to Parramatta, wherever the example is? That's what doesn't happen. It used to happen when I was a town planner a long time ago. We used to get jobs in Forest Lake's a good example. One of the first things I worked on is in planning in Brisbane. And it came in and it was, to ease it, they did those larger lots first. And then we had a guy from UK who was the chief town planner at the time. And he said, I want to meet these developers. I want to talk to them. And at the first meeting, he said, your lot sizes are way too big. I think you should be doing A, B, C. And he picked a bad example, Milton Keynes, but he picked an example of the UK and da-da-da-da-da. And Delphin, who's now Lend-Lease, and Lend-Lease has sold it to Stocklands, but at the time, a guy called Roselett, still around, da-da-da-da, him and a guy called Guy Gibson, retired, now. They actually took that on board and rechanged everything. That came from just the council's mindset initially. So that's only a small change, but that's what should be happening rather than,
Mm.
oh, look, the rules say. One of the things I argue a lot with, when I do local government orientated things, particularly with councillors, and I can understand this because they're in Woolworths or Coles in line, and somebody comes up to them and goes, "We're not very happy about the townhouses you're approving up the road." Then those people still complain that their 35-year-old child still lives at home because they can't find anything to rent, but beside the point. Um, but then so I can understand the local council doesn't want to, like, approve anything and do anything new. And it really peeves me when in question time when I'm in, like, in their office and I'm talking about the changes that need to happen. I've been commissioned to do this work, and they go, "Oh, we're really worried about the amount of supply, and we've approved enough." And I say, "That's not your concern. You should approve everything. The market will determine what happens." So my answer, Carlson, um, and James, to those type of questions is that government needs to step away and let things happen. Of course, they're going to give them approval somewhere along the lines, but let the market come to them with something that's new. The market is, I mean, even flicking through your stuff in preparation for this little chat today, for the last hour or so, you can see that, some of the stuff that you've got your guys and your teams providing, and in terms of education, that isn't what the mainstream do. It's because it's not what they see. Um, the other thing that's important as well is demonstrating that stock. So there's a chappie that we all know called Kevin Dudney, and he still gets pushback saying, "Oh, there's too many people living there," till he takes them through it and he shows them, and they go, "Oh shit, this isn't bad, is it? Oh, why have we got what?" Oh, got it. April's mate. One of my kids is called April. One of our kids is called April. April should see this. This would suit her perfectly. Until they see it. It was the same with small lots in many places. I remember getting on a plane with a Lord Mayor, taking her to Perth, in Adelaide, to show what a small lot was. Came and she didn't want any of this until after the plane trip, and she came back and said, "How many of those do you think we could get in our subdivision?" That subdivision became North Lakes. So the demonstration of the stock is something that I think really needs to happen, rather than the NIMBYism saying, "We don't want this in our backyard," and everything. Can I come and show you what we're talking about? This is it here. This is what it's going to be like, and so forth. So I'll show you something, a couple of real live examples of this, um, at the gig as well, about things that are, Adelaide, Perth, one in Darwin, of this type of stock that is, it's when you see it, you go, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." But you go and find it elsewhere, and it's very hard to do because it took some initiative in terms of the providers, but it also had to be received by the approving authority as saying, "Wow, this is good. This should
Well,
work."